Welcome to the Payroll Podcast, the show that explores the latest insights and innovations in the world of payroll. Hello and welcome back to the Payroll Podcast. My name is Nick Day. I'm CEO at JGA Recruitment Group. We are specialist global payroll recruiters. And today I'm joined by Pavel Shynkarenko, an experienced leader with over 20 years in financial and legal technologies, business development and client contractor relationships, in particular in relation to automation. We're going to be talking about automation today and, of course, contractor payroll. It's going to be the topic for today. Now, Pavel started as a lawyer counseling several Ukrainian companies before diving into entrepreneurship. He has since founded 3 successful businesses, and one of those he launched in 2014 is called SolarStaff. Now, SolarStaff are a Fintech payroll business, and it's a company that delivers payroll solutions for freelancers. Well, if you're not familiar with SolarStaff, it's worth me mentioning they achieved 12 million USD in revenue in 2022, showing 196% year-on-year growth. And this success has led Pavel to continue to invest and innovate to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to delivering effective and technologically driven payroll solutions. And the business now has offices in New York, Amsterdam, and Limassol, where Pavel is joining me from today. You may have even seen Pavel on the conference circuit already. He's delivered keynote talks at major industry conferences, such as the Digital Marketing Conference in Cologne and the CBIT Conference in Hanover. And away from business, Pavel is a keen artist and photographer. In fact, you can see some of his images displayed in galleries in Chicago, Hong Kong, San Diego, Vietnam, Barcelona, and Melbourne. And I'm hoping to have a little opportunity to ask him about that a little bit later on in the show. However, without further ado, let's welcome Pavel to the Payroll Podcast. Let's talk about how we can innovate payroll fintech solutions for freelancers. Not something we've tackled before, Pavel, so I'm keen to get into the nitty-gritty of that as soon as we can. But before we do, welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your invitation. I'm feeling good, and it's a very good pleasure for me to join your podcast. Nice
Fantastic.
to meet you.
Well, delighted to have you here. I'm going to start with my first question, Pavel, something I ask all of my guests, which is this. What does the word payroll mean to you?
For me, it means some kind of settlement between companies and human resources or freelance forces, both together, doesn't matter.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's jump into, I guess, my introduction, which alluded towards your entrepreneurial experience. I'm keen to know, what was it that led you into the world of payroll? What was the moment or the opportunity you identified that led you to launching SolarStaff, which, of course, is a business that provides payroll solutions for freelancers?
Yeah, I remember. It was the time then I had a legal practice in my own private legal firm. And I received some kind of request from CPA network. They asked me to organize the settlements and contracting procedures for them to using webmasters. Hundreds of thousands people in many different countries, they have to contract them, then pay them, and organize all the document flow. And I start to think how it could be done and organize all the legal procedures for them. And when all that was done, I received the second request, and the third one, and the fourth one.
Okay.
And I start to think, okay, it sounds like a product. Because when you just finishing the previous task and you receive the second one and the third and the fourth, it looks like something like a business. And I decided to jump into financial technologies, and it was a good decision for me. Yeah, right time, right choice. Because I think if I will start a couple of years after, I will have no enough money to do that. Yeah.
Effectively, the payroll opportunity landed on your desk, and you realized there was an opportunity. Your entrepreneurial spirit started and brain started working in overdrive. You realized there were a number of challenges to overcome. Freelance payroll isn't something we've covered an awful lot of on the payroll podcast in the past. So it's nice to bring a new, fresh perspective to payroll and a new challenge, I guess, that a lot of people will be faced with in terms of paying freelancers effectively. Can you bring me up to speed by telling more about some of the challenges that solo staff are trying to solve, or some of the challenges you came across early on in your career in relation to the payroll industry that are perhaps a little bit unique to the world of freelance payroll?
The first of all, I would like to tell you about all our I don't know, all our positioning that we try to build. We
Sure.
try to understand what exactly we create. Because when we start to create our product, we think about the advertisement networks and CPA networks or something like that, about the automation of payroll in marketing and advertisement. But when we start to receive first clients, we receive 10 different companies, and no one of them was from marketing industry. That time we start to think what we actually create, and we try to name it, and we think, oh, there is freelance management. No, we cover only the settlements and the contracting. It's not the management at all. We start to think about freelance payments, but it's also not so strict. And on other hand, every time we think about, do we need to build a marketplace inside our system for freelancers to help them to find new tasks, for example. And we have so many opportunities to step back, step right, step left from our main direction. And I think it is a miracle that we go forward and straight and recognize our service as a freelance payroll, as a freelance contracting and settlement system, and that's it. And do not open the marketplace inside, and keep all that teams private, and that allows us to work with the competitors on different markets. For example, in CIS countries, we work with many different CPA networks, and all of them are competitors, and we hold all their pools of contractors.
Yeah.
And there is very sensitive data, and they always ask my team to sell that data to them, and it is always challenging to keep that data safe. Yeah. But I think the positioning was the first challenge for our business, and it was really hard.
Okay. I mean, your website now, since you've evolved, it says £12 million USD business 2022. It's probably grown more since then. But you said that your mission on your website is to provide a bridge between companies from advanced economies and freelancers from developing regions, transforming international freelance into a local barrier-free job. Now, we've seen a lot of, I guess, the barriers to entry be removed since the pandemic, with a lot of people working remotely now and hiring workforces from different regions. That must have been a real I guess, opportunity for you to capitalize on as companies started to take freelancers from different regions. But can you break down that mission statement for me and let me know what some of the benefits are of working with the solo staff solution, both for businesses and for the freelancer?
Yeah, for businesses, I can I can start with possibility of using the freelance forces from many different developing countries with weak financial systems, and you can use the solar staff system to contracting, for onboarding, and for settlements and payroll, with all that freelancers from many different regions on the same rate, based on the percentage, with no setup fees, no entrance fees, no maintenance fees, no any other fees. And there is the faster and cheaper than you will try to find the local payment service provider, to find the local lawyer to conclude the deal and prepare all that deal in local rules, and be tax compliant, and provide all the KYC, and proceed with all the KYC procedures, and collect and store all the data, the sensitive data about the personality of the contractor, about their personal data and payment details. No mistakes, no sensitive data on your side. Just one button, please invite, create the task, and make a payment. And that's it. It's simpler, it's faster, and cheaper for companies. And for freelancers, it gives them opportunity to act like locals, to remove the borders. Because when you based, for example, in India, and your super Indian bank do not allow you to receive the direct payments from US customers, or you're based in Brazil and your bank do not operate with the US dollars at all, and you start to think how I can receive the payment from the US company or UK company, and you ask about some kind of electronic wallets or cryptocurrencies, and for your customers, it's not the usual thing.
Sure.
Yeah, they start to think, oh, there is headache. I would like to work with another supplier, with another vendor from my city, or from my country, or some kind of other European countries, instead of receive all that headache. We remove those kind of barriers for the freelancers and allow them to act like locals.
Yeah, that makes sense. So effectively, your solution, your USP, I guess, is being able to engage with employees from developing countries on a freelance basis and make it simple for them to receive payment, and make it simple for the employer or the business to onboard them and engage with them. So I'm assuming your legal background must have helped you navigate some of the complexities around the legislation and the things you need to do, because obviously you come from a legal background yourself. But for someone listening to this, how can a fintech, if I'm part of a fintech business or I want to launch a fintech business, what advice would you give to them if they want to expand their operations into new sort of developing regions? And what do they need to be aware of in relation to changes in payment regulations or customer demands or things like that you've had to learn and navigate along the way?
First of all, before you start to do something, make the research. Yeah, sure. Just search about the information, and try to use local advisors with a name in ratings. That always helps. For example, a couple of times we use I think McKinsey advisors in many regions, and they help us with the local rules and regulation, and adopt our policies and contracts to local rules and regulation. It was simpler and faster, but not cheaper. Yeah, but it always two sides: to reduce the cost or do something faster. And
sure.
Sometimes it's good to reduce the cost, but sometimes if you can move faster, it gives you more opportunities. If you have enough
I guess sometimes if
funds.
you pay less, you
Yeah.
pay twice as well, right?
Yeah, that's true. Because the cost of mistake, especially in the field of regulation procedures, can cost you a business or fortune.
Sure.
That's really true.
So how did you manage to build your business, and particularly in relation to, what are some of the steps that you took to enable you to handle the changes in payment regulations, for example, or the challenge of supporting your customer needs as you expanded quite quickly?
We built our own payment and legal and corporate infrastructure, and I had I have my own experience and expertise in that field, and I also have a strong team, the legal and financial team inside um, our team, and that helps me to build the strong infrastructure, the own infrastructure, and that helps me to have a lot of different to aggregate payment solutions instead of building some new payment solution inside our system that allows me to pass through that regulation procedure when I start to use some kind of local licensed payment service provider everywhere and aggregate. Of course, it it cost me extra money uh, because I have to pay that
Sure.
fees for those providers. But it allows me to grow faster, to do not try to receive all the licenses in every country I start to operate. I think that allows me pass through different changes in regulations in payments uh, past years, some years.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're fully immersed in the world of fintech, not just in relation to payroll freelancers. It's something I know you're quite passionate about. You've spoken at some big conferences. I mentioned in the introduction, such as the Digital Marketing Conference in Cologne and CeBIT in Hanover. What do you see as some of the biggest trends that are impacting the world of the fintech at the moment? And how do you see some of those trends potentially impacting the world of payroll?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I think we already see the new big thing. There is the generative AI
AI,
systems.
yeah.
Yeah, that system will change all the workforce environment, and of course, fintech too. I think we will see a lot of changes in interfaces, and almost everything will look like a chat and chatbots, and that will be the challenge for many fintech and payroll systems, and a lot of uh, changes will be when Web3 and cryptocurrencies, but not the cryptocurrencies, but digital currencies
Yeah.
comes. Yeah. It's a big different thing, but I think the future of financial systems laid on the digital currencies, the multiple digital currencies issued by the governments, and many changes will appear in international and cross-border payments with that digital currencies. If in nowadays we use the systems like the SWIFT or SEPA payments or SH, we will use some kind of decentralized system in the nearest future. But we will see. when it happens, maybe in a couple of years, maybe in 10 years, but AI already here. And AI, it is a trend. Web3, it depends on the regulation, and it depends on the governments what they will do.
Okay. So flipping the coin then, what do you think are the biggest mistakes a fintech company can make, particularly if they're trying to grow globally now in this new world of work? We've got all these trends and lots of shiny things we can start to bring into our business and offer clients. But what are some of the mistakes or things we should look out for, or businesses should look out for?
It's a good question. It's a good question. Maybe we can talk about the mistake of creating the new bike instead of doing something new, really new, and that wishes to have everything in-house, everything in one solution. It's really a mistake now. You can focus on something that you can do much better than all others, and do only that. All other stuff, all other processes could be automated or could be outsourced for other solutions, and only that way gives you the possibility to compete with other systems in nowadays.
I guess it allows you to, as a user, select the best in class for each thing that you need. If I need a time and attendance, I go to someone that just does that. If I need freelance, global, developing country payroll solution, I come to Solar stuff. You choose those that are fully vested in building a best in class solution for what they specialize in, rather than a jack of all trades or a one fits all solution. I think we've seen that change in the payroll industry, particularly with the introduction of things like Payroll API, where people can kind of plug in and plug out the things that they need to work for them. If someone was listening to this and they're involved in the world of fintech, what specific actions do you think a fintech business could take if they're fully focused on payroll that allow them to adapt for the changing landscape, particularly in relation to payments regulation, which must be something that you're fully immersed in yourself with dealing with so many different countries?
I think my advice will be, please focus on integrated solutions, and some kind of solution that could be integrated in all other solutions and be a part of them, work together with something, with someone. We already live in the world that everything works together with other different stuff, different things, and you should always build something not standalone, but something that could be a part of something else.
So just to take it back a little bit, something that occurred to me earlier when you were giving your response to the countries you deal with, and I know that you specialize in supporting freelancers in developing countries to take them on. What would happen if I came to you and I had a contractor in a developing country that you hadn't onboarded before? Is that something you're able to solve and take them on? Let's say I had someone in a region you haven't processed before. Is that something you can accommodate, or have you got specific regions that you cover?
We have regions that we cover in nowadays, and that could be 120 countries and territories.
Wow, okay, it's a lot.
And it depends on many different factors. For example, in some regions, there are a lot of limitations and sanctions, or for example, the freelance as an activity is prohibited in that region. Even in some Middle East countries, couple of years ago, freelance was prohibited before the
Yeah,
COVID, and
sure.
only in that time they allowed that as an activity, changed their regulation and legislation, and we start to work with United Arabian Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and some other countries that change their policies and their regulation and allows payroll platforms work with the freelancers in that region.
Sure.
But some countries have no enough laws, regulations, or have so weak financial system that not allows us to build to find the local partner,
I see.
the local payment service provider who can help us with the localization of that payments in that region. But we always work to cover more countries and territories with our service to find the new payment service providers who can help us with the new territories. That allows us to grow.
Yeah, so I guess that links back to your research earlier. That's why it's so important, keeping your focus on things that are changing in different developing countries and where you may or may not be able to offer solutions, and when rules and regulations change and things like that to spot new opportunities. So I guess my last question before we open the vault, Pavel, is this: how do you see the future of payroll evolving? And what recommendations can you give to other payroll leaders who might be listening to this episode who want to stay ahead of the curve in relation to fintech and innovation? I know you've talked about a couple of those with generative AI, but if people wanted to stay ahead and take an opportunity to listen to advice now and go, you know what, I'm going to finish this episode, I'm going to go and do this to make sure I stay ahead, what would this be?
Start to think about the future of work and think a bit about the US market and turn your head into the US and think more than half of all US citizens at least one time per year involved in gig economy and work as a freelancer at least one time a year.
Wow, that's
more
a lot.
than a half. It's
Wow.
a lot. It's a new way of doing business, doing some kind of
That's far higher than I
work.
thought, actually. That's much higher than I would have guessed. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the COVID was a start of fast growing of that procedure of remote work, of freelance and gig, and allows a lot of gig platforms to start and grow. And in a couple of years, we will see even more those kind of platforms, because we will see the standardization and automation and regulation of all that procedures in different countries. And a lot of companies start to build some kind of Uber-like platforms for almost everything, but it could be regulated. I do not know how it could be, but it will demand some kind of solution for settlements. And there is the opportunity, I think.
Oh, good. Well, I wish you the best of success there, plugging the gap for that opportunity yourself as you continue on your entrepreneurial journey, Pavel. I'm going to open the vault.
Already work on it.
Yeah, for sure. So I had to ask in the vault today, tell us a bit more about your passion for art and photography. Where does that come from? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting experience. First of all, a couple of years ago, I started to learn how to take professional photos. And after then, this year, I started to use AI to create an abstract images that based on the interviews of the model, I would like to, I start with conversation with AI. Could you please give me the psychological portrait of the personality?
Wow.
And ChatGPT answered me, yeah, of course I can. I asked, what do you need to know about that personality? And he provided me the list of questions. And I told him, you do not know human beings at all. We do not know anything about ourselves and do not tell the truth. You can, if you would like to receive all that information that you ask for, you should create another type of questions. And he provided me another list, and it was amazing. For example, there were the questions, please describe me what are you doing when you lose the time? And it was the 10 questions, something like that. And I start to ask models and create their psychological portraits and use that portraits to create an abstract images that could expand the our vision of the person. And I create that abstract images. After then, I use the projector and place the model in front of the wall and create an image with the projector on that model and shots. And I receive the portrait, personality, and a person both together on one picture. And now I have the exhibition in New York City, I think.
Congratulations.
In Brooklyn, in New York. Yeah.
I mean, I took a little look at the pavelsart.com website prior to today's episode. So I'll share that in the show notes.
But that site was built by AI, totally. I do not write anything. It was a part of that project. I start to use AI as my RT and ask, please build me a site, write me text. And in nowadays, I leave that site on that form that was done by the AI without any kind of human, I don't know, writing the text or placing the images. No.
You're obviously a big fan of its capabilities, judging by your art and the way that you've created these sites.
I think I'm a discoverer.
Okay.
I try to understand how it could be in the nearest future, how we will use AI in our hobbies, in our businesses, in our everyday life. And I start to use that system just to create my own vision of that and to receive my own experience of using AI in all that fields.
Very good. Well, let's link that back then to payroll for the vaults. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone working in payroll right now?
Only one? Oh, okay. I think nowadays we face with a lot of challenges, and we have no enough growth in our global economy, and that's why we will go forward to the times of measuring the effectivity of almost everything. And my advice will be, please start to measure everything that you do.
Nice. No,
it will
makes
help
sense.
you.
For sure. If you had the power of foresight and you could change the entire payroll industry with one action or one improvement, what would that action or improvement be?
Less regulation.
You're probably not alone with that. That's cool. That's enough. And last but not least, if payrolling freelancers was a song or a movie, what song or movie would it be?
It could be not a horror, but action.
That's fine. Horror action's fine. It's been a long journey, right? Listen, Pavel, it's been an absolute pleasure having you today on the Payroll Podcast. For those that want to find out more about Solar Staff, you can go to solar-staff.com. There will be a link in the show notes. I will also put a link to Pavel Shynkarenko's LinkedIn profile for those of you that wish to connect. And there'll be a link to his art projects as well if you want to find out more, all created by generative AI. So it's very impressive and worth having a look. Of course, as well, if you are a payroll leader listening to this show and you need support with a payroll-related vacancy anywhere in the world, we would love to support you. Please get in touch with either myself or any of my team at jgarecruitment.com, or if you're in the US, jgarecruitmentinc.com, and we would love to support you with whatever your recruitment challenges might be by delivering excellent payroll talent to you. So please do get in touch. Just even say one final thank you to Pavel for joining me today on the Payroll Podcast. I look forward to bringing you the next episode real soon. Pavel, thank you.
Thank you.